Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the Nerd on the Street, and today we are taking a look at Kdenlive 19.04. Okay everybody, so if you're not aware, Kdenlive is a free open source Libre video editor that is part of the KDE project. It was not the first video editor that I ever used on Linux, but it was one of the first. I have been using it for many years, and in fact the vast majority of Nerd on the Street content has been edited in Kdenlive. Now last year I made a video about Kdenlive refactored. They were rewriting a large portion of their code base, and they had an alpha version out last summer, which I took a look at on video and was not impressed with compared to the stable version of Kdenlive. It just had a lot of issues at the time. However, the Kdenlive developers did delay the release of the refactored version for many months, and finally the refactored version is now marked stable. So I have just updated my Arch Linux machine, and Kdenlive 19.04 is now the version of Kdenlive that's installed on my computer, just using the standard repositories for my distribution. Of course, Ubuntu and Fedora and all the other distributions will take a few more months to get the new version, but it will trickle down eventually. For me though, I love trying out new versions of software. KDE software especially is always a treat, because the KDE developers are big on configurability and they're big on usability. So I'm really excited to try out the new version of Kdenlive now that it is officially stable. To test this out today, I'm going to be editing another tech channel video. Yesterday I recorded an unboxing of my CyberPower UPS, and I have not edited that footage yet, so I am going to put it on my computer and I'm going to basically run through the flow of making a video like I normally do, but I'm going to be using the new version of Kdenlive 19.04. I'll mention any differences that I see, any things that I noticed that have improved or that have regressed since the last version. And even though this is a very simple video, this CyberPower video doesn't even have any screencasting in it, it's just camera work. The majority of the tech channel videos from an editing point are very simple, so this will also give you guys an insight into how these videos are made. For now, that's about all the introduction this one needs, so we're gonna go ahead and cut to the desktop. Okay guys, and here we are on the desktop. I am recording this video in 4K because I do use my entire screen when I edit. So if you do have a 4K screen, you can turn up that resolution on the Nerd on the Street website or YouTube, wherever you're watching, to see the full detail. But here is Kdenlive. I just opened it up. It certainly starts up faster when you have it installed natively than when you're using an app image. One of the reasons why I wasn't trying to use the app image a whole lot when it was in beta. But this is what the new version looks like. The top half of the window looks pretty much the same as the last version of Kdenlive. Doesn't really look like it's changed a whole lot. The bottom half of the window definitely looks different. The tracks are, well, they're just different. It's hard to explain. The labels over here do look a little less polished than the previous versions, but it's not terrible. And we are going to go ahead and take my folder here full of media. Now I actually need to convert this media first, because even when I do use Kdenlive, I have started converting everything to ProRes before I edit it, because that does make Kdenlive work a lot better. So I'm gonna grab my conversion script from another video folder here, and we'll just copy that script into our project folder and run it. And that's going to convert all of the MP4 files in this folder to MOV files, ProRes. The reason it's doing the later files in the folder here first is because if we open up the script in Kwrite, you can see first it's going to look for any lowercase MP4 files, then it'll look for any uppercase MP4 files, which it's doing right now, and then it'll look for MKV files, which is normally what I screen record in. We can open up my system monitor here and watch it crank out all of that CPU power with my 16 threads of Ryzen. FFmpeg goes very, very quickly on this thing. You can see it is using about 70 or 80% of the CPU right now, and we are encoding at about 3.5 times the speed of the video. So we'll just wait for that to finish. Okay, and that conversion is finished, so we will exit out of our terminal. The next thing that I do, obviously, is drag in all of the converted media files into Kdenlive, and I'll let it start generating thumbnails. You can see it's going nice and quickly there, since these are converted media and relatively short clips as well. We will also drag in our audio here. And we also need the Nerd on the Street intro and outro that go in each one of my videos here. Okay, and that's everything we need from our file system right now. I am going to immediately save this project because Kdenlive's autosave functionality does not start working until you save at least once. So just in case we do get any crashes here, we'll call this CyberPower UPS I went through a phase where I was just calling all of my editing files edit.kdenlive because they're within the video projects folder anyway, which is called the name of the video. So I figured, why type out the entire name of the video again in the Kdenlive project file, which, where did I just save that to? Oh, I saved that to the wrong folder. We'll go here, CyberPower UPS, and here's our Kdenlive file right here. The reason I started naming these actual names for the Kdenlive files again is because it's way easier when I've got multiple projects open at a time to look down in my taskbar and see, oh, this is the Kdenlive window for the CyberPower UPS video, instead of having just 1,000 windows all called edit.kdenlive. So now we're going to start dragging clips in, and here's where things got dicey for me with the preview of the Kdenlive refactor. We're going to take our first video clip here and drag it in. Okay, wow, they made this a lot smoother. So as you can see with the new version of Kdenlive, when you drag a clip into the timeline, it's automatically going to split out your audio from your video, which I was not a fan of. Not a fan of in the preview. However, the preview was very, very laggy, dragging clips between timelines like what I'm doing right now. My mouse cursor would move and then 2 seconds later the clip would follow it. But it seems they have fixed that up a lot because this is much smoother. Okay, I can definitely work with this. So we'll drag in our audio as well because we do need to sync that up. And I think Kdenlive does have some ability to automatically sync, align audio. I never use the automatic align audio. It's never worked for me in the old version of Kdenlive. I haven't really looked into how to use it too much. But we will line this up here, and it looks like Kdenlive did get rid of my hotkeys upon upgrading because I had the G key set to add a gain effect to the clip, which is not doing right now. So let's open up our Kdenlive shortcuts here, and we will search gain. We will set that shortcut to G. A few other ones that I use often are mute. We'll set to M. Split. We'll set to S. Oh, actually, S is set to cut right now, which I think is what I want. Yes. Okay, so it changed some of my settings, but not all of them. Let's see if we've got our crop scale and tilt. We'll set to C, and that'll be it for now. So now we can come down here, and all of my audio files are very low since I got this new microphone, because the thing does record very quietly, but then you can blow it up and increase the volume, and it still sounds great. Okay, so now I can hit G, and you see up here in our properties for the clip, we've got our gain effect. We're going to pop this up to 500% right now. We'll see how it sounds. Hello everyone, I'm Jacob from Nerd in the Street, and today we are taking a look. So I just kind of move this around until I don't hear very much echo. Hello everyone, I'm Jacob from the Nerd in the Street, and today we are taking a look at a... I think that's as good as we're going to get. Hello everyone, I'm Jacob. Hello everyone, I'm That is in sync right there. So we will keep the other audio here because I still like to use it visually since the waveforms go a bit higher, but I will mute that other track. And now that I hit M on this grouped clip with the audio and video, you see that the mute effect was not applied to the video. It was only applied to the audio track, which is a new thing for me. Because in Kdenlive, previously, if I had several clips selected and one of them was a video, video quote-unquote tracks could also contain audio. So audio effects could go onto video tracks in the timeline. That's no longer an option, it's no longer possible, and frankly, I get why they did it. It does make sense for it to work that way, and it's supposedly going to make it more stable and easier for them to avoid bugs in the timeline. So I am going to go ahead and clip these. I'm going to select all of our video files here. Okay, I think they moved another one of my keyboard shortcuts. I don't remember where to change this one though. Right now I need to hold down Shift if I want to select multiple groups of clips. Before I had it to where I held down Control, and I would like to get that changed. Now since it's a holding down a button and clicking rather than just a multi-key combination, I don't think it's in the normal shortcut settings, but it is not in our Kdenlive settings here either. Let's go back to the shortcuts one more time. See, I had my grouping and ungrouping of clips set to, if we search group clips, I had that set to Control G so that I could hold down Control, select all the clips, then just hit G while I'm still holding down Control. I am just going to search real quickly here, Kdenlive 19.04, Shift click, Control click, select multiple clips. I don't know what to search. Okay, so in the KDE user base, they say that you can select multiple clips by pressing Control plus left click on each clip you want to add to the selection. But then the KDE user-based screenshots are also still on KDE 4 with the oxygen theme. So the documentation for this program is extremely out of date. I know Kdenlive has some of their own documentation, supplemental documentation on their own website, but this is a KDE project and I would like to see that cleaned up. Heck, I'd be happy to help with that if I can figure out how this works first. I seem to remember an email about this in the mailing list for Kdenlive. Maybe they just took away the option, because I think there used to be an option to select if you want this to be shift or control. I wouldn't expect that from the KDE people, but maybe that's what happened. For now, we're going to just move on from that. I will click shift to select all of these tracks, and I will hit Control G to group them. Now I can just grab this one gigantic clip and move it around in my timeline. I will say zooming in and out is still not super smooth. It's still a little bit laggy. You can see the waveforms kind of lag behind when I zoom. We will remove space. I just hit Control Home there to skip to the beginning of the video, so let's go ahead and start cutting this.
Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the nerd on the street.
Okay, I'm trying to scroll out while this video is playing, and my scrolling's not working at all anymore. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, yeah, the scroll button, the scroll wheel on my mouse is literally doing nothing. Okay, I can use horizontal scroll to scroll left and right, which is nice, I guess. Oh, I see. Okay, so here's what was just going on. The mouse cursor, when it's down here, this is a difference between the old version of Kdenlive and the new one, I think. When the mouse cursor is below all these tracks, I thought this was still part of the timeline, so I have my mouse cursor sitting here and I'm trying to control scroll to zoom in and out. The mouse cursor has to be on top of an actual track for scrolling to work. I wonder if they could add the ability, because see, I still click down here to drag around. I can click and drag to move my timeline, but I can't scroll down here. So I'll just have to keep my mouse cursor up here for now, but that would be nice if they could maybe implement scrolling down to the bottom below your tracks.
Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the nerd on the street, and today we are taking a look at a CyberPower UPS.
Alright, and my audio is not great in this video. I was wearing a t-shirt that was kind of tight. I'm still trying to figure out how to make my lapel microphone work with t-shirts. I need to get one of those vampire clips for it. But we'll go ahead and cut out all this silence. We will drag in our intro here. And before, there were two, right-clicking in the timeline, there were two options before called remove space and remove space on all tracks. It looks like they've renamed them. The regular remove space is now for all tracks, and removing space on the single track is now explicitly called remove space on active track, which will not work here. Oh, it will work. Interesting. Before you would have gotten an error message that you can't remove space in a single track if any of the clips are grouped, but now it just moves the group. Okay. Interesting.
At a CyberPower UPS. Alright guys, so this was actually a Christmas present to me this past winter, and I have not gotten around to taking it out of the box yet. This is a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply, basically a battery backup for a desktop computer. And I cannot tell you how many times over the last 4 months I have seen the power go out in this house, either while I'm gone and I get back home and my computer's turned off and all my stuff is gone, or it's started back up but all the stuff I had open is no longer open, or I've just been sitting at the computer and the power goes out for a couple seconds.
All right, still a little bit laggy. You can see the waveforms are being regenerated every time I make a clip anywhere. If I hit S here, then it regenerates this last part of the waveform. I don't think that happened with the old version of Kdenlive. You can see if I do that again, it doesn't regenerate this first part because it knows it's already got the waveforms for this. I'm just making a clip in it, or I'm cutting that clip. But this new version of Kdenlive, it seems to want to recalculate the waveforms when I do make a new clip. Dragging clips around is very quick, but some of my muscle memory is a little bit faster than the program here, I feel like.
Once again, my computer turns back on and everything that I was working on that I hadn't saved yet is lost.
Okay, so yeah, you can see I'm right-clicking and I'm having to wait a second before the context menu comes up because the program's still catching up. Definitely a little bit slower than the previous stable version.
Can't tell you how many times I've had that happen in the last 4 months. Quite a few, and every single time it's happened, I've looked across the room to where I've had this thing sitting that somebody got me for Christmas. See if we can cut before that audio crackle there. Okay, well this is a problem right here. So, all right, this is how I normally edit. Yeah, this is actually a large issue. Normally how I edit is I group my clips all together, and then I make cuts where I want to, and very often I'll make a cut and then I want to move it a couple frames, so I click and drag. Right now when I'm clicking and dragging, it's only adjusting one of the clips. These clips are grouped. If I click on one and drag it to move it, it moves all the clips. So how come when I click and drag the ending, it's not moving these all together? This seems like a bug to me. I'm hoping that's not how they intended to actually work. Because see, that just took me 3 times as long. I had to adjust that on every single track. That's the point of grouping, is that they're all supposed to act like they're one clip, right? One possible way to get around that would be rendering out a full version of the uncut video with my audio in it. But I actually like working with groups rather than a single clip because it makes the click target much larger. This is 3 times as tall as a single clip would be, and it makes it easier to click and drag when I want to move things around, not have to spend as much time focusing in my cursor on exactly where that clip is. And I know I could adjust the height of the tracks to account for that, but at that point I'm doing quite a bit to accommodate a change in workflow that they made. So we'll see if that gets fixed, or if maybe there's an option for that. Is there an option for that? Settings, Kdenlive, timeline. No, I don't see an option for that. Okay, once again, we'll move on for now, but I will want to look into that more later. For Christmas, that I just have not had time to make a video about yet, and I didn't want to take it out of the box and set it up without doing it on video. Christmas, that I just got me for Christmas, that I just have not had time to make a video about yet, and I didn't want to take it out of the box and set it up without doing it on video. When I was using my System 76 laptop as my main computer, my serval workstation, it was actually one of those subtle, really nice things that I didn't have to worry about the power going out, because that laptop had a battery that, even though it didn't last all day, it would last an hour. It would last an hour or two if the power did go out. So talking about my muscle memory one more time, it does look like even though the visual, what's going on, is lagging behind a little bit, if I click over here and start dragging, even though this clip's not gone yet, after I've deleted it, I'll just hit delete, and well, that one worked pretty quickly, so it wasn't an issue. But it does look like the program is keeping up with what I'm doing, it's just a little laggy displaying it. Yeah, like what I just did right there, and we crashed, all right. So we will restart this app. I am on Arch Linux right now, once again using our just standard version in the repository, so I don't have debug symbols to report bugs right now. If I crash too often, then I may install a custom version that I've compiled myself with debug symbols. But we'll go ahead and open this track back up, or this file. You can see it says autosave files exist, we will recover, and hopefully we haven't lost too much. Or did go out. Yeah, no, we didn't lose anything, so that's fine. I'll go ahead and save again to be safe. It would last an hour or two if the power did go out. This desktop computer I have right here, this thing is a monster. It's got a 16-thread, 8-core processor. It's got 2 high-end graphics cards in it. Now it has those 3 NAS drives that I put inside of it running a ZFS storage array. In addition to the drive toaster sitting on top of the thing that's got another drive in it. I use this thing for everything I do, and stability. So without further, and it's time for. All right, so most of my cuts that I've been doing right here, they've been pretty spot on. Obviously, I'm pretty familiar with my own talking patterns since I've edited so many videos of myself talking. But the majority of the editing that I do in tech videos is this sort of thing where I'm just clipping out silences or words that I mess up. Now, the majority of the adjustments that I make are doing things like this. If I want a little bit less space there, then I'll drag, and this is why this is a big deal, that these are not moving all together.
because I'll experiment. I'll try out, how does this sound if I take out another frame?
Everything I do, and it's time for a little bit more stability.
And I'll say, okay, that sounds a little better, or I'll say, no, that's actually worse, and I'll undo it. I've seen on the mailing list some quote-unquote professional editors, and you know, they're making movies, they're doing much more creative stuff than this, and that's cool. And their editing workflows are, you know, heavily based on the keyboard, and they use in markers and out markers and things like that are just not relevant for me at all when I'm working on a tech video, because it makes it way harder to do little just single frame adjustments like that. You know, I don't need rolling clips in the timeline. I don't need the ability to roll things. I need the ability to adjust the out point of a clip without affecting the in point or anything else. Just, I want an extra frame of this footage, or I want to get rid of the frame of this footage. That's the stuff that I like. Maybe I can look into keyboard shortcuts for that, but honestly, this is just so easy. It's what I've been doing for many years.
And it's time for a little bit more stability. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring the camera into the desk here.
All right, accidentally triggered the virtual desktops on my computer. That was a funny blooper. Cut that out.
Thing I do, and it's time for a little more stability. For everything I do, and it's time.
Yeah, so we need less here. Man, I gotta click 3 times.
And it's time for a little more stability. So without further ado, I'm gonna
click, come on.
more stability. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring the camera into the desk a little bit closer, and we'll unbox this thing.
All right, so still, I'm starting to feel the lag a little bit more as this. Whoa, that was weird. Okay, so talking about the lag, yeah, still feeling it. So earlier I had this grouped clip. Oh, I guess it's because it's video and audio. Interesting. So before, even if you split your video and audio, how groups worked before is you add clips to a group or you remove them, but there were no nested groups. It was just one layer of grouping. So before, if I were to add this third clip to a group, and then I right-click this and click ungroup, before, all of these clips would have now been ungrouped and the video would not have been tied to the audio. I'm assuming since this video and audio were from the same file, that's why it knows to keep them grouped. If I right-click and click ungroup again, now they're ungrouped, like I would have expected with a single ungroup. I actually like that. I like that we can have nested groups. I completely understood the way it worked before. I did not have a problem with the way it used to work, but I also understand this new way, so that's not an issue, and that is very interesting. All right, so where's our audio now? Move this over here. One thing that I miss that Kdenlive used to do, it didn't matter where your cursor was. When you zoomed in, it zoomed in on your playhead. And I wish I sort of remember there being an option for that somewhere at some point. I don't see it. But now it will zoom in on where your cursor is, or, well, yeah, it's more or less zooming in where the cursor is, which, considering how laggy the zooming is and the fact that you're moving the cursor around, it can get a little disorienting. I kind of liked the way it used to work a few years ago, where let's say I don't know where I even am in the project, I could zoom in one click and it would snap me back to my playhead. I really liked the way that used to work. But we'll zoom in here and try and align this audio up.
Okay, and here we are. Like I said, this is a cyberpower. Okay, and here we are. Like I said, this is a cyberpower model.
All right, that sounds good. So we will mute our camera's audio. Once again, split these, group them. Have to remember to use Shift now instead of Control, and move this back.
Closer, and we'll unbox this thing. Okay, and here we are. Like I said, this is a cyberpower model.
A lot of these audio waveforms here are the microphone falling off of my shirt. Like I said, I was wearing a tight t-shirt and have not figured out how this microphone works with t-shirts yet. That's why I was wearing a button-up shirt in this video.
A cyberpower model. I believe CyberPower makes custom-built PCs, obviously. Obviously, I built my own PC, so I didn't need to buy from them. But this is an 80. But this is an.
Okay, one thing I did just notice, let's say I'm going to clip here, okay, so even if one of these clips is selected, very often what I'll do is I'm clicking around in the empty spaces of the timeline to move the playhead around, and when I hit S to cut the clip, it will do that on whatever the active track is. So right now, there's no clip to cut, it's telling me down here, but if I move my active track with my arrow key down to one of the tracks that there are clips on, I can hit S and it cuts all of them because they're grouped. However, I do find it interesting, if I do click on here to actually explicitly select this clip and I hit S, previously I'm pretty sure the clip after where you just cut, which you can see is what the playhead is now over, that would have been selected after you hit S to cut before, but now it's not. I don't think that affects my workflow too much, but I was not expecting it there. All right, got to keep clicking on these tiny little, come on, why aren't you moving? I think we're about to crash. I can feel the crash. Nope, we didn't crash. Okay. Buy from them, but this is an 825 voltage amp power supply. Now this says 450 watts. Here's my biggest concern with this thing, guys. And another thing that makes it stupid that I left it in the box so long. I'm not sure if this is actually going to work with my computer because I have a 750 watt power supply. All right. And at this point, I actually want to go ahead and check what the actual wattage of my power supply is that I'm talking about in the video. All right, well, I'm going to search my own website for my AMD desktop series, find one of those videos, and I really need to work on the search on my website because it is pretty bad, I will admit. The problem is I don't tag the videos on the website, so I think it'd be better if I went out of my way to tag them. So I should probably do that sometime. Man, I searched AMD desktop. I'm getting an awful lot of things that have nothing to do with my AMD desktop. Page 5, this is the last page. Do we have results? Here we go. All of the videos that I was looking for are on the last page. There they are, okay.
Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the Nerd.
All right. You can hear the audio was terrible in this video because I wasn't wearing my lavalier microphone that I have now. So let's check out, was this actually a 750 watt? Oh, I have a 1,000 watt power supply. Okay, well, that's why I went to check. I am going to now add a title in here to correct what I'm saying, which is one of the more frequent uses of titles for me. So I'll just put an asterisk 1,000 watt, and we'll pop that up on the screen whenever I say 750 watt, or at least the first couple times. We want a color here that's going to pop against the background. I think green looks a little better than the light blue that we had before, so we'll go with that. We'll arrange it somewhere where it's easy to see. Okay. And we will drag this into our timeline. Watt power supply. 750. So right when I start saying the incorrect information is when I want to pop up the correction onto the screen. I have a 750. I have a 750 watt power supply, and this is a 450 watt. And then we'll add an effect here, or I guess a composition. Wow, they've really taken a lot of effects out, because there used to be like dozens, if not hundreds. Now we have 3 effects. One of those is volume, and I'm currently right-clicking on a video track. So if I right-click on the actual, no, yeah, that's all they're giving us options for. I know we still have the other effects, like audio correction up here, gain. What if I wanted to apply this with right-click down here? It's just not an option. This is lift gamma gain. This is the video effect. The only thing we have an option for in the right-click menu is volume keyframeable, not the gain effect that I use. Why would they separate out? Why would they not display all of their effects in the right-click menu? That doesn't make any sense. Because I never use this panel. I never use this panel. I always just use the right-click menu or keyboard shortcuts. But I guess I'm using it now. We've got insert a composition. These used to be called transitions, but now it's called a composition. Nowadays, I can actually, obviously you're looking at this right now, we've got a title clip on top of our video clip, and since we have this drop down over here set to high quality, Kdenlive is adding them together up here in our video view window, you can see. I was actually using Kdenlive before this drop down existed, and it used to work like this, where a title clip over your video would not automatically have a composition. You would have to go and add a quote-unquote transition, such as composite and transform, and then it would work. And I remember when they first added this drop-down, some of these transition effects or higher quality than the automatic one that they did, so that's why I kept using them for a while. I don't know if that's still the case. I think rendering time was another thing that I looked at when they first added that dropdown. I was skeptical of this dropdown when they added that, since it was so ingrained that I had to do this myself. If we look at alpha transform here, if we look under compositions tab, well, they've gotten rid of the affine transition entirely, haven't they? Yeah, honestly, composite and transform was one of the two that I did use very often. The other one that I usually used was called affine. I think I always used affine or composite. I don't think I actually use composite and transform. This might actually be new, in fact. We'll just go with composite and transform, that's fine.
750 watt power supply, and this is a 450 watt UPS. Now, if your power supply is drawing more
So if I wanted to add a fade in here, I could do that under the composition track here. I could add another keyframe, and they have made this keyframe panel much more stable and less buggy. This thing used to be entirely slow and just terrible. It is actually, this is working much faster now than with the previous stable version of Kdenlive. That was one of the things I kept downloading the preview app images just to check out the keyframing, and I can tell you for sure that they have improved the keyframing. So now we have a fade in here. Oh, that's not a fade in though. That's rotation. What did I just set? Oh, well, you can control Z keyframes now, so that's another improvement that you didn't used to be able to do. I was looking for the, where's the alpha? Opacity, here. Okay. Now we have a little fade in there, which I didn't actually want for this clip. I was just demonstrating. That's how you do that in Kdenlive, is with, or that's how I do that in Kdenlive, is with keyframe transitions. So we'll get rid of these. And Kdenlive just crashed. Restart app. We will open this back up, recover. Just as I was saying how much more stable the new keyframes are, I just want to delete, and it happened again. Okay. Oh, KDE didn't give me the option to restart the app this time since it happened 2 times in a row. We'll do it manually, and it appears that we cannot, I guess we need to have a single, oh, wow, the autosave actually went back. We lost a little bit there. Yeah, we did lose a little bit. The autosave, it said, all right, this autosave isn't working. That is unfortunate. Okay. I broke my rule of when you recover an autosave, you should save immediately after you do that. Whenever you recover an autosave, save immediately, because as you just saw, now I have to recreate this transition because I didn't do that.
700.
All right, so I'm spending too much time on this one transition right now just because I'm talking about it. Or this one clip. We'll go ahead and we'll do composite transform.
I have a 750 watt power supply. I have a 750 watt power supply, and this is a.
I think I had it 1 frame later.
Because I have a 750 watt power supply, and this is a 450 watt UPS. Now, if your power supply is drawing more wattage than the UPS will provide, then if the power goes out, the UPS will simply turn off, and so will your computer. And so will your computer. However, I think that the 825 voltage amp is what I actually need, since this is higher than my 750 watt power supply, and that 750 watt power supply probably isn't pulling the full wattage that it's rated for, although it must be getting close now, once again, with all the high-end components I have in my computer. We might be able to get away with
so I'm trying to click and drag to expand these clips out right now. I'm having to do that twice on every single 3 times, 4, 5. All right, attempt number 5, I got this top clip to move its start point. Not sure what's going on with the hitboxes there.
We might be able to get away with this. We're going to test it and see, basically. I'm going to turn the computer on. We'll unplug this after the computer's connected to it, and we'll see if the computer stays on.
All right, so I have been recording for about 51 minutes now on the desktop. There's plenty of this video left that I have to edit. This is about all that I do for tech video editing. I mean, there's other stuff, you know, titles get crazy sometimes. If audio is bad, then I can do things to clean that up. I try and light myself well so I don't have to do any color correction for most of my videos. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording here because we're only 3 minutes into this video that I'm editing, and we're almost an hour into the video that I'm currently recording. So it would take way too long to record this entire thing. Just one other thing I will mention, I don't think that these tracks look as ugly as they did when I tried Kdenlive out, or if they look the same, then I don't think it's as ugly as I used to think that they look. This bright orange with the white waveform on top of it, definitely less visually pleasing, less aesthetically pleasing than the old stable, but you know, I can see where the waveforms are, and that's what's important. One thing I'll mention, I do wish that you can see the gain here. The waveforms are quite low on my microphone's audio because, like I said, my microphone records at a very low level, but it records a very clean signal, so I can boost it up with no issues. I could boost the audio in Austin Audio or Audacity or whatever I'm using to record for a particular video before I export and drag it into Kdenlive, and then the waveforms would be higher. But I do wish that Kdenlive's waveforms reflected the gain effect that you're putting on. You can see I can move this gain down to 0, or I can move this gain to 1000, which is saying 100 times louder, and it's not moving the waveform at all. So it's not a problem here because I've got my muted track from my camera with higher volume audio. However, when we get into desktop recordings and I only have my microphone, my good microphone's track with a super small waveform, and then my desktop recording, which is going to have no waveform usually, or maybe a little blip here or there when we do have an error sound or something coming out of my speakers, it can be difficult to visually edit. I really have to spend more time listening to where the start point of my talking is, rather than here I can see, I mean, you see this waveform starts way back here. We don't see a blip on the waveform until a frame or two later on my good microphone's track. But if we were to edit based on my good microphone's track here, I'd be clipping my own words off left and right. But yeah, aside from that, I'm fairly happy with this. I am very pleased that they delayed the release of this refactored version for several releases. And you know, now that they've decided to release it, I'll be honest, I was worried. I was worried that I would have to go and, you know, download the old version, compile it, and keep using an old, unstable, unsupported version of Kdenlive for a year or however long it takes them to make the new version stable again. I was prepared to do that, but I actually don't think I will. I think I will continue using the current stable, which is what I try to do whenever possible for any of my programs. And yeah, I will watch the incremental updates roll in as they release point releases for this. I do want to give a huge hats off to the Kdenlive team. You guys can go to kdenlive.org. Let me open up Falcon here. Kdenlive.org, that's KDE live.org. That is the official website for Kdenlive. And I know I was very harsh on the refactored version when I did make a video about that. But I do want to make it clear, Nerd on the Street relies heavily on this one piece of software. I have talked about before, this is my editor of choice for good reason. It works on any distribution with any hardware that you throw at it, unlike proprietary software such as DaVinci Resolve that will only work with certain hardware on certain distributions. Kdenlive is universal, and it is by far, it's light years ahead of, you know, OpenShot. I love OpenShot. Kdenlive is ahead in terms of editing functionality, in my opinion, though. It is certainly light years ahead of Olive or PTV or Shotcut in terms of user interface. And like I said before, the vast, vast majority, probably at this point 90% or 95% of Nerd on the Street content from the last 6.5 years has been edited in Kdenlive. I simply could not do what I do without them. So I would like to give a huge thank you to the Kdenlive team for making this software. You know, I might not be in lockstep with every decision that they make, which is just part of who I am. I'm skeptical of changes and things, and I'm not just going to be a puppet for these open source projects. You know, when I talk about them, I'm going to give my honest opinion, but Kdenlive is a project that I do appreciate a lot, and I do want to give a huge congratulations to the Kdenlive team for this big refactored version that I know they've been working on for a very long time. They've done a great job with this software, and I hope they continue doing a great job with it. And that is everything I have to say. If you guys have questions about Kdenlive, you can always ask the Kdenlive folks, or you can ask me on my forums at nerdonthestreet.com. That's also where you can find more videos like this. And you can also support me at nerdclub.knots.co if you'd like to give back for the videos that I do make. It's just $3 a month, and you can help me give media coverage to projects such as Kdenlive. But until next time, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the Nerd on the Street, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.